YouTube? So, we'll get back to some V8 noises here in a second, but in today's video, we are going to be comparing my old Camaro 1LE and my current Shelby GT350R. Now this is a 2019, the Shelby is a 2018. As some of you guys might know if you've been watching my channel for a little bit, this car now belongs to my dad because I sold it to him, man, probably a couple years ago now. But I still come up here and drive it every now and then because I just really enjoy it. So what I thought I'd do is, while I'm in the Camaro, talk about things that I prefer about the Camaro. Then we'll hop into the Shelby and talk about things that I prefer about the Shelby. And then we'll kind of go over which one overall I enjoy more. First things first though, I feel like we need to do a little acceleration in the Camaro because it's been a while. Of this thing is insane. Just all right, so real quick, if this video is coming out a little later than I usually do, I want to apologize. Just about a couple weeks ago I got sick for about 2 weeks and it really threw off my schedule, so I'm just trying to get back into the groove of things. So while we're in the Camaro, let's talk about the first thing that I prefer about the Camaro, and that is the steering wheel, which is kind of odd, but the reason that I say that is because it's smaller. It's a smaller wheel, which makes the car feel smaller. Makes it feel like you can just kind of really throw it around. A little bit more aggressive flat bottom. And also the suede that they use on here versus what's on the Shelby, this just feels a little bit better. That's the first thing I like. It's just, I just like the dimensions of it. It just makes the car feel smaller, more playful. The next thing is, which if you guys saw my previous video on the Shelby where I was kind of talking about things that I didn't like, you'll know that I was talking about the suspension. In the suspension, God, those pops on the exhaust are just insane. The suspension in this one has 3 settings, the Shelby only has 2, but it's just a lot more compliant. Now, arguably, the Shelby is a bit more of a track car, whereas this can be a track car, but it's also more of a road car. But the suspension in this, you put it in tour mode, so I'll put it in tour mode real quick, and it gets nice and soft, and I mean it's really nice to just cruise in because it's comfortable. The suspension is perfectly dialed in. Or you dial it all the way up in the track mode and it's so rigid and just, you're not going to get any body roll. It's awesome. This car has power seats, rear seats, doesn't have carbon fiber wheels, you know, doesn't have anything that's super hardcore lightweight in here. And yet it's still technically like 20 pounds lighter than the Shelby, which has very expensive carbon fiber wheels, no back seats, no seat belts, no power seat, no heads-up display. Ford went through all of that and it's still not any lighter than a Camaro SS 1LE. So I just think that's funny, and again, just goes to show the car, I mean, this thing feels light. The next thing that I like about this car is it's way more playful. You can get the back end to step out on this thing very easily, and it doesn't snap. It's very progressive. You feel it losing grip, and you're like, okay, I know exactly what's going to happen here. And so that gives you as a driver more confidence to push the car up harder because you know what the car is going to do. It's predictable. Whereas the Shelby, it has Cup 2s, which are way more sticky than these Goodyear Eagle F1 Supercar 3 tires. But that also means that it's not as playful, as well as the fact that this car makes way more low-end torque compared to the Shelby. So this car just, you just can give it a quick stab of the gas and you can get the back end to step out. Every time I take my foot off the gas, it's just like I'm making popcorn back there. So there you go, right? Just super easy to catch. right? You can feel when it's slipping. It doesn't make me go, uh-oh, I can't tell what's going on. Yeah, it doesn't pull as hard as the Shelby once you get above 4,000 RPM, but below that, it's got way more torque, which is why this car, despite being way less money, basically has the same 0 to 60 time. Now what we're gonna do is hop in the Shelby and kind of talk about some of the things that I like about the Shelby better than I like about the Camaro. 8,000 RPM. All right, so the Shelby GT350R. So what are the things that I like about this compared to the Camaro? Well, first is just how loud it is on the inside. Like outside is cool, but you sit inside, right? So I love that I can hear every little bit of acceleration that I do in this car. And that's factory. You know, this car came with Ford's X-Pipe when the car was new, if you got the R. So even just gentle acceleration, it sounds awesome. So the other things that I prefer about the Shelby over the Camaro, one is I have actually got to drive this thing on track. You know, I didn't get to drive the 1LE on track. I've seen 1LEs on track when I did the Corvette racing school, but I didn't get to drive mine on a track. So, but with that being said, the driver inputs of the Shelby, because this is a much more serious, a much more focused car, the driver inputs are just way more dialed in. For example, like the throttle response. If I just twitch my big toe, it's just like, you can hear it, and it's just, the throttle response is so crisp, and it responds immediately. Anything you do, you're just like, if you accidentally sneeze too hard, you need to make sure there's no one right in front of you, because you're just gonna be, oops, sorry. The only thing that I've driven that was even close to this was the Lamborghini Huracan that I drove in Italy, which is obviously a naturally aspirated V10. And that had a similar kind of just straining at the leash type of feel, to where the throttle response was just ready to go. And then not only is it the throttle response, it's also the brakes. As soon as you move your foot to the brake pedal, you're slowing down. Like, it's just, it gives you a lot of confidence, because I used to think that Chevy's brakes are pretty good, and they are. But when I hopped in this, the braking on this is just insane. They just bite. There is no putting your foot down and waiting for something to happen. As soon as you touch the brakes, the car starts slowing down. The other thing is the clutch. All the driver inputs, the clutch, I can feel the clutch actually engaging. When I push my foot down on the clutch, I can feel it doing, like doing its job. And then, last thing I'm gonna talk about here is this shifter, this transmission in this car. That's part of why you buy, in my opinion, 350 and the 350R. Because it loves to be hurried, whether it's downshift, you know, upshifting like crazy. It's just, it takes it all. This transmission's very good. The shifter itself is just nice. It's nice and short throws, but you gotta give it a little bit of effort, and it's always just super direct. You know exactly where you're going. It just feels positive when you engage it. And one of my favorite things about it is definitely the shifter of the transmission. And like I showed you guys when we hopped into this thing, one of my other favorite things is the power band. Above 4,000 RPM, when you hit the gas, it rips. I mean, it is very fast for, you know, a 3,700 pound manual, non-turbo, non-supercharged car. It feels much faster than the Camaro. However, under 4,000 RPM, there's really nobody home. You can put your foot down and just kind of like right now, nothing happens. Lots of noise, which is great, but nothing really kind of happens. Whereas in the Camaro, because it makes all that torque a lot lower down, you kind of get pushed back in the seat a bit more. And like I said, I drove this thing on the track. It was great. It was a handful.
Kept it on course. There you go.
Because again, when it goes, it goes. It doesn't just like progressively let go. So with that being said, I think what we'll do is head back and talk about which one I actually prefer to drive. All right, guys, so out of the two, which do I prefer? We got the Camaro, the Shelby, and now before I tell you which one I prefer out of the two, keep in mind that if you're new to my channel, obviously I used to own this, which is a Chevy. I own that, which is a Ford. I also have two other Fords, a Bronco and a Raptor. I also have two Jeeps, a Wrangler and a Wrangler 392. I also have the C8 Corvette, which is a Chevy. So I'm not biased, I just like what I like. So I just wanted to put that out there first. Both of these cars are great, but for me, since I don't have the time to go to the track all the time, the one that I enjoy the most on the road is the Camaro. Mainly just because it's just a lot more playful, and on the road it's just a bit more enjoyable to drive. You don't have to be on a track doing 100 miles an hour to finally get it to slide. You can get it to slide at basically any speed. It's just very fun. It's very engaging to drive because it's playful. It can be a serious car and you can take it to the track, but on the road it's just a lot more fun. The Shelby is great on a track. I mean, it really is, with all those great driver inputs. On a track, if you're the type of person that can drive, you have all the time in the world to drive on a track, you will enjoy this car a lot more. You'll get a little bit more out of it. But for me, this is the car that I enjoy. But unfortunately, this car will be going away. I'm not going to be buying it back. My pops is going to be selling it. So we will not see the 1LE probably anymore after this video, which is kind of sad because this was my first, well, it was my second new car, but my first like sports car that I bought, my first weekend car, if you will, that I bought. So I love this thing. If you guys are thinking about buying a 1LE, go pick one up. Shelby is great, but just in a different way. Leave a comment down below on which one you guys would rather have. And yeah, if you enjoyed the video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe. And if you do subscribe, click that bell notification so you get notified for more videos, whether it's stuff like this or the off-road stuff. And I will see you guys in the next video. Take care.